budget season, and so it couldn't be more appropriate. Excellency, thank you for coming. And Chairman, Kofi and I have been, Kofi and I have been together for a long time. When he was at Guta and I was trying to build my company, so I think we've all gone through lots of challenges together. And let me also thank Mr. Yentumi for you and your team for this. And our acting. When do we take up the acting in front of you? It's been 9 months, and as the High Commissioner mentioned, I think the acting should be over. So thank you. And then GIZ and DFID. Thank you very much for all the support. Taxes, I think really listening to the contributions essentially places the responsibility on us as citizens to be able to fund where we want to go, to be out of disgrace, to be able to buy our own bread, and to be able to build a self-confident society. And I think that's a challenge. And I guess I was listening to George Nanofori from Guta, and you know, thank you for that, because I think we need to have a pretty honest conversation as a nation. What are we doing to ourselves? And so even as we get frustrated, I don't think we should play with where we are as a society. So when Nana talks about interest rates being high, exchange rate being that, I'm saying, okay, so maybe Nana just came to Ghana this year and did not see what had happened before. And I'm not saying that things are perfect, but I really want us always to put things in context. And of course, he's very right about the uses of our taxes, you know, and the issue of corruption. But when we have our educated class also pretending that there are no changes, it sends a signal down that this thing is, you know, you can continue to be cynical. But we are at a point of extreme sacrifices. And some of us will have to sacrifice more than others, however we take it. We have, let's say, 10 million people who are economically active. We have 1.1 million people actually paying sort of formal and doing the payee thing. So through that, we pick up maybe 3 billion, you know, Ghana cedis per year at the end of the year. So that means there's around 8 million people that are accounted or unaccounted for. So imagine, as Mr. Simeon said, if we all rendered to Caesar what was Caesar's. This whole issue of our capacity to support the necessary public good, which is education, health, security, will not be something that we're talking to DFID or GIZ about, but things that we can personally fund. And that becomes so. In looking, therefore, at the associations, for example, yes, you know, you are paying taxes on the corporate level, but what are we doing in terms of Chartered Institute of Taxation, Institute of Engineers, you know, all of those organizations as to what the members personally are also paying with regards to their taxes. And the responsibility that we have entrusted in GRA can only manifest if we citizens also care about the public purse. So the issue that GRA is there, and therefore we associations are not responsible for the personal citizenship responsibilities, I think is something that organizations should put around. Certainly we as GRA should be able to link, members of medical association, GUTA, taxes, also link DVLA for people who buy cars, link people who buy tickets to travel, and to be able to say at the end of the year that if you bought a ticket for 1,000 cedis or dollars, how is it possible that you are not in the tax net? And the challenge, therefore, for us to move to a new level of consciousness. I think the past is a very difficult one, and that may justify not engaging as a citizen. But, we cannot use that. We have to accept that we have all been culpable in the past. There's a new future which is going to demand of us a lot more responsibility. When we talk about corruption and bribe, and sometimes we get onto customs, and, we are all... Customs cannot do what they do if we say that it's a corrupt society, if we, the people importing, do not engage to give them something. So for us to sort of demonize customs sometimes, for me, is a really laughable thing. The other thing we haven't done, we also have not challenged our resident visitors who have been with us forever. So anytime we talk about taxes, it seems that we are talking to Ghanaians. I mean, we need to directly also talk to the Indians. We need to talk to the Lebanese. We need to say, if you are here for 50 years or 10 years, and this is where your livelihood is, then we are also going to demand a certain amount of response to what we have to do to build this country, to make sure. So we are going to begin those conversations. But I think what is most important is that we as a nation begin an honest dialogue about what we are doing to ourselves. It's really nobody but ourselves. And the resources are there, channeling into individuals who are not responsible for public welfare programs, and therefore how to build a stronger society. And really for us in government, we have to make choices. So we chose that the human capital of our society is one of the most important things, and therefore programmed resources into, let's say, SHS. Now, what does that mean? If we then do that, certainly other areas will be challenged. But we cannot compromise the future of our society with illiteracy. We just can't. That's one. And then I think prosperity and social justice are two sides of the same coin. And to be able to have social justice, we need to create a society in which everyone has access. I mean, what is it that makes me different to be driving, in my car for another fellow citizen to be begging on the streets? Except that government is not being responsive or giving the appropriate infrastructure for that person to have access to education, and therefore to liberate the energies and that we have. So the question becomes, what am I doing with regards to whether I'm paying taxes? I'm sure if I were to take a survey here and ask how many people have ever filed their taxes, a lot of us will be found wanting. But we do get on platforms and talk about what government is not doing and what customs is not doing. So for me, in the coming months, and especially next year, is for us to begin to dialogue on that. We look at our distribution of our revenue, and we are nearing 38 to 40% of the revenue that we collect, that GRA collects, to be used as salaries and wages. And it sounds okay, maybe, but that's 650,000 people out of 25 million people who are taking that amount of money. But at the same time, it's not that the wages are, great, and therefore you can say you're going to cut them down. But there are certainly some efficiencies that we can have in the system. But going beyond that then is when a country like ours is about 16% to GDP with regards to tax revenues that we collect, and countries maybe poorer than ours or peer are doing about 20 to 25%. Clearly, we ourselves are also not doing well. But I think we should be clear whether we want this new self-confident, transformed society in which really, I think the manifest destiny of our country is really one of greatness. And we should not get used to certain behaviors which are inimical or following the crowd because everybody is doing it. Each individual must be responsible for his or her actions towards what a citizen should be doing, so that acting Commissioner General will not become acting, and he will be receiving the type of resources that we require to be able to build this great nation. So we go forward to a period now that we are building the budget, and typically, it's a statement, about sort of how to divide the national cake, and I give you this to MDA, and I take this from the MDA. But it's really a very myopic view of looking at it. It's really, for me, how can a nation come together to meet our challenges that the global economy is throwing at us, our aspirations of what a transformed Ghana should be like. How do we build a system where the SDGs undergird us? And the thing about our country is that even as we talk about sanctions, and maybe I've done some action in which I have caught one or two people who are breaking the law of taxes, it is, maybe somebody from the priesthood or chief who will come and see me to, forgive the person. So, we kind of float not being clear, about acknowledging that we need to begin sanctions on these things, and it's not being wicked, because when you then compare it to 80 pesos per meal for school feeding, which may very well be the one meal that person in Kukrantumi or Chebi gets for that day, and somebody here is stealing, 10,000 CDs. We should look at it as, life and death, and not about that individual person. So I'm really, truly excited about what the Commissioner General and Mr. Yentumi and his group are doing. I think we really need to drum home, our responsibility as citizens and what we have to do. And typically, once you do your part of it, you are able to then, on a very high moral level, insist that me in government also do our part of it. And that challenge is important. We need to be put on the carpet. But when we also do things that are right, I don't want anybody messing around with the statistics. It has to be relative, it has to be educated, it has to say that, well, you have brought interest rates down from X percentage to X percentage, but I want you to go further, as opposed to interest rates are high. It's a very different language, and I want us, because, so let me tell you, we were going through a period of 3.5 or 6% growth, the lowest in the past 10 years. This year, we did 6.6 in the first quarter and 9% in the second quarter, average of 7.8, okay? So that is real. Inflation was 15.4, it went down to 11.9 in August, and then picked up again to 12.2 with petrol price increase and the hurricanes that happened in North America. So the question becomes, should I intervene and try and keep petrol prices down? But where is the resource to continue to support that? Last year was 9.4%, and we are now 4.1%. The target was to get to 6.3%, and we are really striving to make sure that we do that. But in the end, the macro stability is important. A change of culture is even more important. And that is where, these things that we are doing, because the subliminal message that things are changing, that we are speaking truth, that there's action, that I can be honestly berated for not doing what I'm supposed to do. And where is NCCE in the middle of all of this? Because in the end, it is the messages we hear, the accountability. A country where we still are able to urinate outside anywhere is a challenge. I mean, clearly it's something, it's so pear-shaped, and we don't see it, it's so natural. So there are certain fundamentals that we have to. But I believe that these things are important. We can rebuild to create this great society. And I really want to thank Kofinti and Tumi and the team for that. And the solidarity messages, really it is time for us to put our shoulders to the wheel and to rebuild. Because it's just a great nation that we have, and it's up to us to do it.